Logan fiddled with the hydroponics control panel, attempting to take his eyes off the gorgeous, blue-skinned extraterrestrial that stood next to him. Zephyr, an intelligent but unsophisticated Unayas xenobiologist, had spent the last few days asking him a lot of uncomfortable questions. It was the same question today, and it agitated Logan. You're implying, then, that a guy inserts his member into the females and moves it in and out till he releases seed in order to reproduce? Zephyr's eyes widened with interest. And aside from reproduction, this is done only for pleasure? Logan shifted uneasily and looked at the panel. As one of the few humans on board the UNS Odyssey, a combined human-UNAS research vessel, he frequently felt alone among the crew, who were primarily asexual. Zephyr's naive curiosity was now adding to the complexity of the situation. He could feel their tension building, and it was beginning to take his mind off his work. The ship's alarm went off before he could reply, startling him out of his reverie. Extended-range sensors have identified an unidentified object that was headed straight for the Odyssey. Logan ignored Zephyr's thoughts as he hurried to his station, his heart racing. Whatever was present was enormous. And then, all of their awkward exchanges seemed insignificant in the face of the impending danger. The crew realized with horror that they were facing a massive live beast that was beyond their comprehension as they prepared for impact. The massive weight of the beast made the Odyssey's hull creak, and alarms went off as the ship battled to stay together. Logan and Zephyr exchanged glances across the control room. He could see the resolve in her expression, even in the middle of pandemonium. He realized then that in order to survive this confrontation, they would have to set aside their differences and cooperate. Whatever this being was, it was unlike anything they had encountered previously, and it would put their comprehension and bond to the ultimate test. The massive, swaying mass of the extraterrestrial being dominated the UNS Odyssey's view screen. With a horrible crunch, its gelatinous tentacles tightened around the spacecraft. Captain Krell's scaled skin tightened as he grabbed the armrests of his command chair. He said, "Evasive maneuvers now." Logan's fingers skimmed over the knobs in engineering, redirecting power to the shields. Zephyr stood beside him, frozen in place, her eyes wide with scientific curiosity mixed with horror. Her voice, strangely calm in the middle of pandemonium, said, "Is this how humans react to stress?" Logan glanced at her. "Not at this moment, Zephyr. It's going to be—" The creature's tendrils sank further into the hull, causing the ship to lurch violently. The Odyssey barely managed to stay together as alarms went off and crew members staggered. Sensor readings on the bridge presented a puzzling image. "It's some kind of interstellar jellyfish," according to scientists. Officer stumbled over words. "But the size, it's unprecedented." Zephyr's eyes grew wide with understanding. She uttered, "The Star Wanderers," in a tone laced with wonder. "I thought they were just a myth." She turned to look at Captain Krell, her face beseeching. "We need to speak with it. It could not comprehend what we are." Krell frowned and twitched his antennae. "And what is your suggested course of action? Our interpreters serve no purpose." Zephyr saw a determined light in his eyes. "Let me connect to it directly using the neural interface." "Absolutely not!" With a shout, Logan moved forward. "It poses too much risk. We're not sure what that object is. Intellect might inflict upon you." With her face just inches from his, Zephyr spun around him. "Nobody else can accomplish this but me. The only person who is aware of its importance." Zephyr took an unexpected action before Logan could continue to argue. She took hold of his collar and dragged him into a kiss. He felt a shock as her chilly blue lips contacted his. The bridge became quiet, and for a brief while, even the alarms seemed to go away. Logan was stunned and unable to speak when she withdrew. Whispering, "I have to try," she said. She then grabbed the neural interface, cables, and entered the system via a jack. Her eyes rolled back and her body went rigid as her consciousness connected with the alien being. The jellyfish-like creature's surface rippled on the view screen, its colors changing in a kaleidoscope of patterns. The crew was amazed and horrified to see as Zephyr's consciousness fused with the creature's, converting its strange feelings and experiences into something they could understand. Zephyr communicated their intentions through the link, saying they would testify to its tale and that they meant no harm. The creature's tentacles unwound from the Odyssey slowly and unwillingly, slipping away. With a tone that is almost melancholic, Zephyr fell, her nose dripping blood, as the thing sank back into the abyss. Logan ran to her side and gave her the softest hug possible. He said, "I've got you," as he brushed a strand of her silky hair away. Visage. "I've got you." The crew let out a roar of inquiry and relief all around them. But Logan had just Zephyr in mind. Her heartbeat faltered feebly in his arms, and her breath was gentle against his neck. He understood at that same instant that this was just the beginning. They had altered them irrevocably, touching something immense and inexplicable. The crew of the Odyssey was working non-stop to evaluate the damage done by the encounter with the massive monster, and the ship was buzzing with activity. Dr. Caln Voss stood over Zephyr in the sickbay, his comatose body motionless on the medical bed. Logan sat close by, never taking his eyes off her pallid, bluish visage. "This is the most unusual neural pattern I've ever seen," Dr. Voss said, scowling at the results. "There could have been long-term harm from the contact. Her prognosis is unclear." As Logan gently grabbed Zephyr's hand in his own, his teeth gritted. "She is powerful. She will persevere." Skeptical, Dr. Voss's antennae twitched. However, he remained silent and returned his focus to the medical scanner. The other officers on the bridge recoiled when Captain Krell's scalded fist crashed onto the meeting table. He snarled, "We need answers, not conjecture." Officer Trell, science calmly lifted an eyebrow. "The sensible path of action is evident. We need to investigate this thing more. The consequences for science are—" "Bah!" Chief of Security Grank cut in, exposing his pointed Klingon fangs. "That animal poses a danger. Before it devours us all, we ought to eliminate it." Neither side was ready to give up as the argument raged on. Returning to sickbay, Logan inclined toward Zephyr's ear. His voice was barely audible over the hum of the machines as he murmured, "I'm here. No matter what, I'll be here to support you through this. Simply get back to me." Zephyr's eyes twitched as if in reaction to his words, and a meek smile formed her mouth. Her gaze came to rest slowly on Logan's face. She said, "Logan," barely audible. "Now everything is different. I witnessed a lot. My viewpoint has evolved. On the cosmos, on ourselves." Logan had palpitations. He leaned forward and planted a gentle kiss on her lips. For the ship's pandemonium vanished in an instant, leaving the two of them alone in their brittle, shared tranquility. But as soon as the ship began to ring with alarms, the calm was broken. "Warning! Everyone to the battle stations!" Voice over the intercom bellowed Captain Krell. Logan grudgingly withdrew, his feeling of obligation drawing him back to the here and now. "I must depart. I'm needed in engineering." Zephyr, her eyes burning with purpose, strained to sit up. "I'm coming with you." "What?" "No, you must take a nap." Her gaze was intense as she held onto his arm, grasping hold of his. "I'm now in contact with that creature. It may only be able to communicate with me. Logan, please have faith in me." He wavered, his confidence in her being threatened by the worry in his eyes. At last he gave a nod. "All right, but stay close." They raced along the halls, the ship trembling severely at every blow from the unidentified alien vessels that were now after them. Zephyr gasped as they got closer to engineering, bracing herself against a bulkhead. "What's happening?" Logan glanced at a console nearby. His alarming eyes grew wide. The jellyfish has returned. Additionally, it's not by yourself. A fleet of unidentified ships is pursuing. Their weaponry is blazing. The engineering bay was a flurry of activity as they surged in. Logan started rerouting electricity to the shields right away. Zephyr stood by his side, determined despite having a pallid face. She said, "We have to help it," her voice breaking through the mayhem. "It's afraid, not a threat. Ships like those are pursuing it." Logan looked into her eyes and saw the conviction in them. With a nod, he unlocked the bridge's channel. "This is Logan from engineering, Captain. I have an idea." Captain Krell's face on the bridge was dark. "Go ahead," he commanded. Logan and Zephyr worked side by side as the Odyssey maneuvered to intercept the alien fleet, their newfound link vibrating between Thema Bridge between species, forged in the furnace of disaster. They would tackle whatever was ahead of them together. The assault by the alien fleet was so intense that the Odyssey trembled. With their brains connected to the cosmic jellyfish creature, Logan and Zephyr kept working frantically in engineering, attempting to communicate and figure out how to keep the ship safe. The extraterrestrial vessels were drawing near, unleashing lethal strikes the Odyssey's shields in volley. Captain Krell was on the bridge GI. As the Odyssey shot through transdimensional space, reality bent and stretched about them as it hurtled toward the subspace tunnel. Moments later, with the extreme strain and peril of the last battle behind them, they emerged into a new star system. The view screen was filled with a rich blue-green planet, its surface glistening with wonder and life. "Where are we?" Silent, Captain Krell stared at the planet with unwavering eyes. "Trell." He looked at his tools. "Captain, this system is unknown. Although the planet seems to be in Class M, there are no indications of technological advancement." Krell let out a breath, his shoulders becoming less tense. "There is nothing for us to do. Get ready for the emergency landing process." Logan glanced to the workers as they hurried to their positions. Zephyr. They shared a look that said volumes, an understanding that everything had changed because of their link to the creature. Not only their partnership, but also their understanding of the cosmos. Zephyr entwined her chilly fingers with Logan's, a tiny smile playing on her lips. "Anything that transpires down there," she muttered. "Confront it collectively." With wisps of plasma trailing behind it as it sliced through the atmosphere, the Odyssey started its fall into the alien land. Below, uncharted territories held mysteries and perils that were poised to push the boundaries of their recently formed relationship. With a loud tremble, the Odyssey landed and kicked up a shimmering dust cloud. Captain Krell looked around the bridge, his antennae twitching. He said, "Get an away team ready. Logan, Zephyr, Grank, you're with me." With a look of concern on his face, Logan took Zephyr aside as they gathered in the transporter chamber. "Are you sure you're up for this?" Zephyr gave him a firm grip while her eyes glowed with resolve. "Remember that we are all in this together. In addition, you need someone to watch over you." Grank interrupted their moment with a rough voice. "If you two are done whispering, we have a mission to complete." The visiting team showed up on the surface of the planet, quickly engulfed in the muggy atmosphere of a foreign jungle. The clearing was filled with unsettling shadows as the bioluminescent plants flickered with a strange luminosity. "Determine a boundary," Krell gave the order. "We need to secure our position before nightfall." Zephyr's eyes expanded as the troop dispersed, taking in the array of unusual vegetation encircling them. "Logan, take a look at this," she said, pointing to a plant that resembled a fern and shimmered in every hue conceivable. A smile crossed Logan's face at her eagerness. "It's beautiful, but we should stick with the group." Zephyr's eyes glistened with a blend of science and malice. Inquiring. "Just a brief glance. We won't get very far." Logan nodded against his better judgment, and the two of them slipped out of the group and further into the glowing forest. The alien forest around them seemed to come to life as they cataloged the astounding variety of phosphorescent plant life. Animals chattered. Some slithered through the undergrowth, others hung out in the canopy overhead. Zephyr said, "Logan," in a tone that was both awe-inspiring and little terrified. "I think we've gone too far." A bone-chilling roar boomed through the trees before Logan could reply. A gigantic animal with 6 legs suddenly emerged from the foliage, its bioluminescent patterns that pulse with ferocious fury. "Run!" With a roar, Logan shoved Zephyr in front of him. Desperate to get out, they tore through the bush, branches snapping at their faces. The sound of the beast's thunderous footsteps approached faster and faster. Logan sprawled to the ground after his foot hooked on a root, the earth. He turned in time to, see the thing descending on him with its razor-sharp claws. "No!" Zephyr let out a cry. Logan flung up his arms, trying in vain to protect himself. He let out an anguished howl as the predator's claws tore into his flesh. He struck with his legs, snagging the beast in the middle and forcing it back for a short while. Zephyr picked up a fallen branch and used it as a club. She hit the beast in the head, causing it to become disoriented long enough for Logan to clamber to his feet. They started running again, although Logan's wounds made it harder. Blood soaked through his uniform, creating a trail the determined hunter might follow. With his vision becoming blurry due to blood loss, Logan whispered, "We have to find the others." Zephyr did her best to hold his weight, but she was getting tired. The noises of pursuit were getting softer as they staggered into a small clearing. "Logan, remain put. With me," Zephyr begged, collapsing to the floor. Desperate to stop the blood from his wounds, she tore strips out of her uniform. Panic surged through Zephyr as she saw Logan's eyes flicker shut. Her voice resounded through the alien as she called out, "Help! Woodland! Someone, please!" Zephyr, desperate, extended her mental reach, looking for a link to the celestial being who had previously saved them. Her mental wail echoed through space, sensed by something far beyond human comprehension yet unseen by human ears. Far above the surface of the globe, the something like a jellyfish swirled. Zephyr clutched Logan's motionless body on the ground, her tears blending with the blood on his uniform. The bioluminescent plants in the bush appeared to be pulsating in response to her suffering. The air surrounding them started to twist and shimmer abruptly. Before them materialized a massive behemoth, its transparent body flowing with energy from another planet. Zephyr's appeal was answered by the cosmic jellyfish. Logan and Zephyr were propelled into the air by tendrils of life energy that reached out and enveloped them tenderly. Zephyr experienced a wave of comfort and security. She muttered, "Thank you," her voice choking. With feeling. With ease, the huge shape of the monster moved through the bush, gliding between the trees. With hope budding in her chest, Zephyr steered it toward where she thought the Odyssey had landed. Shouts of alarm went up as they got closer to the clearing. Zephyr's relief gave way to fear. She watched as Grank rallied the security personnel, their rifles ready to fire at the invading force. She exclaimed, "Wait!" But her voice was muffled by the jellyfish's protective covering. "We've arrived! Don't fire!" Subscribe to watch more amazing sci-fi stories.